All right, staying in flow from our previous episode, let's talk about this in the deeper cut. So, we were talking about heaviness.
Well, the thing I realized, like, we started to talk about the challenges we were having, especially like navigating social media and like a growing practice community. But I realized like there was a little anger in me, like, oh no, like there are things that are deeply meaningful to me and I'm like focused on that. Maybe that was like some of the problem in the first place. And yeah, this year there's been a lot more happening for me than that. I mean, the biggest event in my life was my mother got really sick, very sick, and she passed away a few months ago. So as well as navigating the things that happen in our business, this was like a real journey, or this was something very different in a way, and actually more normal, like something maybe we're all going to face at some point. So I don't know, there's a way I wanted to, I almost talked about it in our first interview, but I actually didn't know that you had such a like willingness to explore everything. So yeah, when I shared it with you, it was cool to see you like, I would love to explore that.
One of the things that this brings up is this idea of impermanence, and that we are temporary, and that we have grandparents and parents that have either passed or will be passing soon, and we will be passing soon. And so this is what it calls up for me. So to contemplate death and to hear about it from your perspective, going through this really tough year that you went through with growing what you're building, while also having what happened with your mother.
Yeah.
What was this? How did it set in for you?
Well, I was very blessed with an incredibly loving mother, an intelligent mother as well, and so it was obviously huge to hear that she was so sick, and my family absolutely adores her as well, so it was like devastating for them. And but the big thing, like being so committed to these practices of presence and surrender, and it was like devastating, and I cried deeply, and I've like met anguish in me, but at the same time there was a trust that also I was going to be shown by life as something I couldn't imagine, which ended up being true. So even though it was a tragedy and like and unexpected, like she was quite a healthy 61-year-old, there was also this, like, I don't know if readiness is the right way, but almost like I had prepared to kind of meet that, whatever that was going to be. And I've had my stepfather died when I was young, and it's like a different kind of experience. Like I understand why people have such difficulty grieving, because that experience was totally different. It was like I could remember how I hadn't processed it for years after, and being in shock for years without realizing it, just being a young man at the time, I was a boy at the time, 10. But this was a totally different experience. Yeah.
Your mother was 61.
Yeah.
How is it to talk about here with us and on camera?
One of the things that comes up is actually my family. Like, I care about them deeply, and like part of me is like tracking, like if they were listening, am I like honoring them and like honoring my mum? Yeah, more like I don't want to talk in any kind of way that like, oh yeah, this was like a transformational experience and it's so wonderful. I feel a sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And the like in all my years, like I've done a lot of exploring transformation in groups and with people and friends, and I've seen wonderful things. But actually, the thing that amazed me was like how we as a family grew together in this process. It was mind-boggling, actually. You couldn't imagine such transformation, but like in a subtle way as well. But just the love we experienced together and the coming together, the conversations that we had to have, but we really did have. It's really something else. You can feel the love, yeah, and the tenderness now.
And I feel the beauty of being able to find something that is so powerful for you and your family in such a difficult circumstance. And that feels really beautiful.
And there's such nice humbling experiences. Like, I didn't know the subtle ways that I like expected different people in my different family members, my brothers, my stepfather, even my mother. Subtle ways I was like, I don't know, comparing myself or like wanting to be seen, and these little subtle ways, and something happened where that just got cut through, and like my family was seeing me anyway. Like the places I was trying to be seen were actually more getting in the way of what was already beautiful, and very humbling to see where I was actually, even in my like attempt to like be present or to like be accepting of what was happening, even in that sometimes I found the subtle ways I was trying to actually teach it and then also my own innocence in that, like I was trying to navigate something very painful and I was very scared, but slowly through the process it was like I was being shown like a new level of letting go, or like what it means to really like honor someone where they are. And I don't know how maybe there's deeper I can learn this, but it certainly gave me a lot of lessons in that.
Are you touched?
Yeah, I am. And I want to ask a question that can sometimes be difficult to answer. Do you feel like you were able to connect with your mom at a deep enough degree prior to her passing that you were able to sort of, would you say that there was enough of the wisdom, this transgenerational wisdom that was passed on and knowledge that was passed on from mom to son prior to the passing?
Yeah, now you really touch me. So it was an incredible process. Like in the beginning, like there was like, the realization of the finality that was possible. Like I knew a year and a half like before that it was very serious, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I want to have as much connection. I don't want to waste any moment, and like got very like, and and part of that was true, like, and was good. Like, I became very motivated without any effort, of course, to be in connection with my mum more and to visit more and to, like, you know, just listen to her more. But I was also scared that, like, what if we didn't really connect? And my mum has a different way to me. Like, you know, she's not used to this, you know, transformational culture and, you know, this. So it was scary because I was, like, so yearning to be with her, and at the same time, the worst thing ever was to push her into, like, you know, past her comfort zone because of my need. And at the same time knowing that, like, you know, we're mother and son, so we have all our kind of complex, you know, dynamics. So it was, like, so intense.
Just noticing that you're, like, it seems close to tears, or can you say more about what's happening as you hear Sean talk about that tender, like, navigation?
Yeah, that's the right word, navigation. Yeah, because mom and son are on different worldviews, and there's a, like you said, a need for you to want to connect and to dive deep into her worldview and her life and all this type of stuff, but she's also at a very tender place in her time to pass, and so this is, like, a very crazy time for how do you interplay that?
Yeah, and there was really different transition points. Like, looking back, I'm really grateful for the question. It's like there was a real, like, I was really exploring this as well, like having, like, you know, friends like this, and even, like, while I was leading events, because of the way we structure the practice, we don't lead, like, from a place that we've, you know, spiritually realized everything, so we're just leading others. We lead from our authenticity, which means taking responsibility as a leader, but also being human. So I was, like, deeply processing the grief in the groups with my friends, and, like, and our culture we've built, you know, as friends, is that, you know, they were always there for me. So I had a lot of deep crying, but there was still that longing with my mother, but also the, you know, wanting to honor where she is. But I had this moment where I went on a deep journey, like, especially I did some trauma development training, which gave me another kind of place to, like, go deeper into this. But what I discovered, there's a place in me when I go really deep where I get frozen. And people might relate to that, where you like, I just get, like, very still. Sometimes I could used to mistake it as a kind of meditative state, which in one sense is, but in another sense it's also, like, a kind of trauma reaction, or, like, a nervous system response to fear. So I get really frozen, and if I'm really trusting the connection, I start to really ache. But I got met in this aching, and then suddenly, like, I just got asked, like, what are you aching for? And it, like, never occurred to me in this deep space that the aching was telling me something. I just thought it was the pain I had to endure for transformation. But obviously, if I was when I became intimate with the pain, it was anguish. I was like, oh, I'm longing for touch, but not any normal touch. And then but I got, it was a hard navigation, because I would, like, pop out and, like, but then I got brought to, like, who do you want to be touched by? And then it, like, hit me, like, oh, my mother. Like, no one touched me like she did. So sweet, and I so trusted her, like, so trusted her with her boundaries, and, So it was like, oh my God, I didn't know, like, that deep longing for that. And the sweetness I felt having accessed that, it was so sweet.
Yes.
And it was like, that was like we spoke about in the previous talk, like when you've got this like layers in you that you don't realize, you just act regardless. So like when I felt frozen or like aching, I'd be like, oh, I'm not feeling well, or I'm like, you know, try and find some way to wake myself up. But actually what was happening was the deep intelligence in me was like saying like, oh, like if you listen, there's something you really need, and it's really hard for you to know what you need, and I'll guide you. And what it guided me to was my longing from the sweetness of like the love I would receive from my mum. And straight away it was like I could remember it as if it was like the most obvious thing. Like, I mean, remember being a boy and you got this woman and she's so wonderful and she looks after you and she just cares for you all the time. It's like that's like a miracle, and it feels amazing. I used to work with children, it reminded me of this as well, and I use in sports, and one time I asked this boy who I really liked, he's a really cool kid who would just be honest, I was like, who's the person you most like to hang out with? And he went, and then he smiled, he's like, Mum. And I was like, yes. Yeah. And so remembering that sweetness, so the next time I was with my mother, I didn't have this thing of like, oh, I need to be able to do something so we can connect. I was like, the sweetness already is almost unbearable.
Oh, wow.
And the vulnerability for me to show that, it's in me. It's not like I need to do something and show her transformational processes or all that.
Interesting.
Suddenly it was like, and then we had a conversation, and I just shared with her like, Mum, I want to tell you something, and it's not easy for me to share because I get scared. Like, I don't want to be too much for you, and she's. And then she's obviously sweet, and it's like, oh no, don't worry. And and then I was just like, Mum, the thing I love more than anything is like just time when I can be with you, just me and you. But I couldn't say it like this. I was like crying as soon as I said it. And she was just like, whoa.
Whoa, yeah.
But as soon as I said that,
me too.
And the relief of like this whole thing that like, oh, we need to have this like conversation before we part forever.
Yeah.
Suddenly was like, relax. Like I could just tell my mum how sweet it feels to be with her, to have been given this gift to live this life with her. Like that we had this journey together. Like what a miracle. And so that's how that changed.
Oh man. For those that are blessed to have that beautiful relationship with their mother from the time that they're born, because some of us are missing that basic nutrient in the roots of love and compassion from our parents, shelter, food, water, all that type of stuff.
And it makes total sense to me why people are like trying to compensate and doing all the kind of strange things, it seems like, to compensate, because the sweetness is like, it's like inside nectar coming into your body. Like that's why we take ecstasy, because it's like it feels amazing to have things moving like inside, but when it's just the love you have, just
Damn. And this is why it is. There's so much. One of the interesting things is that we have a friend that continues to say, "Oh, let's program mom into AI," and I'm like, "Wow, interesting. How can we do that?" That sounds great. Potentially, this love and compassion. This, as you said, this nectar.
Something really interesting happening now, because like when you were talking about it, I was like, I want to cry. You're tearing up a little. We're like feeling the kind of grief, but now I feel like that you talking about the sweetness. It's like so almost happy, even though we're talking about your mom passing. Like there's I feel a shared resonance of like some sort of joy coming out. I don't know if it changes it, me saying it.
I feel both, which was all the time. Yeah. That was, and to like, it's also.
Where's mom for you?
Yeah.
In Austin, Texas.
And healthy?
Yeah, I mean, every relationship's got its quirks for sure.
But she's healthy. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Likewise. Yeah. Healthy mom with quirks, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Just very, holy cow, just a limited amount of time. The clock's ticking. How much time do you have left with your loved ones? The clock's ticking.
Yeah, I feel so lucky. Like, my mom, I travel a lot for work, and she will often like take me to the airport or pick me up. And it's so sweet, this like just uninterrupted time, it's traffic, and it's like 45 minutes or an hour, like just to catch up and talk, and it's such a gift.
Cute.
I was with you both recently, and I could see at the end, I was like, oh yeah, I can feel your mum's like willingness to take you to the airport because she just so loves the time with you.
Yeah, and I'll be like, I'm happy to take a ride share or whatever, and but she like really looks forward to it, and I do too.
It's quite cool that on the deeper cut we start talking about how much we love
moms.
I know. I feel shy.
This is a real deeper cut.
I also feel we're like a little
exactly. Yeah.
You get to the mums.
And the next thing is like, well, I feel a little shy because now my girlfriend's starting to pick me up at the airport. And I'm like, oh no.
Well, actually, this hits on a really interesting point about what is it with when a baby is able to get the mom's love to its wildest degrees of compassion and love and just care, that, and like you said, no one touched me like my mom did. No one talks with the same degree of unconditional love as mom. So where does that get? The biological clock, right? These are ticking, all of a sudden gone. Then what? Where does the unconditional love?
When you do the clock ticking, I feel angry.
It might make you even more if I said that you might only have like 3,000 days left with your mom.
That feels like a lot of days, but I mean...
But if you're only spending 1 day or 10 days with them a year, that's 300 days left, or even just 100 days left. with them.
What's the anger?
I don't feel it now. You have to do the.
Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the amount of days. If you live until you're about 82 or so, you'll have about 30,000 days to live, and out of those 30,000 days, you're going to spend about a third of them asleep.
I want to feel the anger more, and I think it's connected to like some energy that I think you're embodying when you do this. Like it feels more real to me than the numbers of the days.
Oh, interesting. Oh, cool. Okay. So then,
like when you do this,
yeah.
it's like I know it's not you, but I think it's like I'm almost like I'm like, don't fucking take that away from me.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so because I've been kind of trying to maybe augment people's perspective with saying that you only get 30,000 days to live, but it's not working as well, apparently, as when I'm like, these are the moments that are passing, and every moment that's passing that we're not acting with our mother or with our girlfriend.
But I'm wondering if you also there's something.
Oh yeah, totally. This is the clock for, build something. Build into the world, build into the world, the hierarchy, run, sprint upward, execute, build, right? And then at the same, you're like, get that away from me, right? But at the same time, then you have to do things like mom, like girlfriend, like nature, like meditation. Anyway, this conversation just got transitioned to hierarchies and time, and that's slightly different than where we were at a little moment ago.
Unless
Okay.
we stay with like you and like your experience of this, because it seems like there's something like super meaningful to you about this. You're like,
Yeah, there is.
and it's a mission. You're like, I want people to know this 30,000 days thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's part of what like you're trying to do even with this show.
Wake up.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, maybe that is. Wake up. This is time.
And I wonder if because there's like a power in that, and like, but I wonder also if there's like the pain of regret. Like, don't create the pain of regret, driving that as well.
There's so many reasons why we just co-created how this is powerful, because I think not only is it the moments that are going by, but it's the sound. It activates a new thing when you just say, every second is going by. There's like, it doesn't resonate with you as much as when there's something about it being a noise too that is more awakening, I think. But yeah.
But I think like when I imagine you, like being you, like walking around or doing the studio, like wanting people to like there's something where I imagine like you almost like defending the preciousness of life. You're like,
Yes.
Hey, motherfuckers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this moment right now
Yes.
matters
A lot. Yes. Every one of these matters a lot. And so when another one of these, the same person that I mentioned earlier, again came up with this, Jun, opportunity, obesity. We have so many opportunities that are constantly coming at us for engaging with people socially for this, or in a project for that. It's just endless. It's like a buffet of opportunities, and we have obesity with it to such a degree that we're not actually able to more easily potentially identify what should we truly be doing with this precious time that we have. And then, interestingly enough, things get weighted differently when you have a mom that gets sick. All of a sudden, this becomes way more heavily in the direction of mom than it was before. You can see it going, time goes closer to mom. Whereas before, when mom's healthy, it's like, well, I can work and I can play, and then I go to mom for a bit, and then I go back to work and stuff. But then when a family member falls sick, holy crap, are we, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, one of the first things I met was feeling the pain of the time I wasted, or I got all the memories of like being on the phone with mum and like I'm like on the internet at the same time. That was painful.
Damn.
And so it was like, oh man. And then how that turned into like every phone call I had with her was like any minute I could have with her was, and as she got sicker, she obviously could speak for less time. So, you know, I wanted to be careful with her time, and yet I so wanted to be with her. And she, like every time she just started saying like darling to me, which I don't think she used to say, but she just started saying that. And those moments were like,
Yeah.
So what a change in time.
And this is gonna sound very AI, but to be able to capture our loved ones' facial expressions, voice, nuance, inflection, right, all this type of stuff, and package it into something that could maybe at a later time have its a form of digital awareness in space with us in the future, past their time with us, is something that people are like have been exploring like the last 10 years, and it's capturing like mind files and stuff. And yeah, which these words like darling, to like be able to hear that at a later time past their death, to some people is like fucking weird and they don't want that, but to other people it's like, man, I would hear my mom say these things, these pet names and whatnot, these loving, kind phrases. Yeah, I would hear them forever if I could. Would you?
I'm not sure. I'm fascinated, like what's going to happen as AI evolves and like these things are possible. Sometimes you think it's creepy and weird, and then as it evolves, it actually is okay or something. But
Yeah.
but I don't get attracted to it now. Like in my process, like actually going deeper into the grief and the love I feel brings the memory and the sense of connection with my mother stronger than like collecting stuff. And
Yeah.
so
You had great examples of when you're on the phone in the past, you're like looking back and being like, wow. Or like maybe that car ride where back from the airport where the conversation just kind of derailed into something that maybe wasn't as productive because maybe I had made some sort of a mistake in the way that I was speaking, and I didn't. It's almost as though the older I've become and the older my mother has become, the more I've become aware of just how much, like my gratitude per minute has increased significantly with my mom, which is for those that are blessed to have mom.
I'm still a little stuck on this. I know it's silly, but like two things. The first is like there's something about like counting the moments that doesn't actually feel true to me. Like when I look at my experience, like my actual subjective experience of time is pretty like I don't, I mean, and it reminds me of even like the mathematical concept of like there's the infinity that you can like keep counting, and that's like in some systems like that's the first infinity, but like because you could take like between any 2 points you could like subdivide it an infinite number of times and then subdivide that, and there's an infinite infinities within it, so it's actually infinitely bigger. And I'm like, so if this is your birth and this is your death, or this is like when you get to know your mom and this is when you don't, like it matters like how you like, do you think you have a set number of moments, like a number line, or like, or is there kind of an infinite like depth that you can go into in between?
That feels, yeah, my phenomenological experience. Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool way to think of time.
And then it's like, yeah, this drive for more time or more whatever, it's like it starts to make a lot less sense than like a drive to be more with the like fullness of here, which I know you're fully like on board with.
There's several things there. Yeah. Well, yeah. So first is, yes, there's the infinite amount of points from 0 to 1. Okay. And then there's the, yes, technically then we could be spending an infinite amount of time together from now until every moment that goes by together. But there's, I think, something, and then there's also the point of like, there is no past, present, and future, that all time happens at once. So there's also that perspective, that all time is happening at once. Okay, all right, so now that we've acknowledged these things, let's put ourselves back in the 3D reality that we reside in, where we do have a biological clock, where we do have a limitation. It's fantastic to philosophize about pre-birth, post-death, all that is. We're all one. Time is all that is. These are fantastic things to philosophize about. I love it too. And I'm all about that all is one. And then I've no concerns, no worries about the hierarchy and climbing it and mom passing at some point, and no worries about time to spend in a relationship and having kids, no worries. But then there's like another force that comes in, and that force is like, no, really, like, how are you passing your time?
Yeah, what is that force in you? That's what I get so excited to explore.
Because like the whole idea of just being all whatever, like flowy, cosmic flow, la 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 la, love it.
But it's interesting, like in your world, it's like oneness is like different from the kind of flow of life, and it's like
it's great.
It's all like la di da di da when you're here in oneness, and then here it's like you're driven and you
yeah.
But like oneness doesn't include this thing.
Yeah, my experience of oneness, doesn't.
It does include. Okay, here's the thing. It does include, right? Let's put it on the table like we said at the beginning, that it does include. Okay.
I'm not convinced.
Okay, fine. Because I think I can explain why. Maybe I can explain why. Maybe I can't, right?
Well, it's like you're feeling it right now.
I am
right?
feeling it. I'm totally feeling it. Like I'm feeling the surrender to the oneness.
But then you've got this march, because you've got to like switch the camera with your right hand.
Yeah,
and you're
totally.
like, you're like the march of time. Like if I don't switch this camera, people are going to get bored. And
well, I just have to keep the conversation, flowing to where it's going with the camera shots. But this isn't even as important, I would say. I mean, what we're talking about is very important, and I'm going to try and defend this point. Okay?
Yeah.
It's an interesting point to try and defend. It's not an argument against oneness, and it's almost like there's an aspect to oneness, which is the biological clock in the 3D reality. Okay, so let's say it's embedded within oneness. And then within this embedded biological clock in the oneness is you choosing moment to moment, you're collapsing the trajectory of your life with your choices. And you're going down different paths. So when you have the choice to do something like start a business or write a poem or marry that woman or go pass some time with your mom or travel somewhere or not, right? Burger or salad even, like just down to the most mundane more decisions or not. You are making decisions in the oneness of the biological time encapsulated framework of decision making.
And there's something that deeply matters to you, isn't there, in this? Or, is that right?
Yeah, there's something that matters to me a lot about that. Yeah.
What's the energy like right now for you? Or?
It's like the most serious thing on the planet is that, what I just described. One of the most serious things on the planet. Love and consciousness, right, are like two of the most serious things on the planet. And then like time.
And I think what I'm wondering is like, so when I feel my version of this, I wonder how similar it is to yours. Like when you talk about like collapsing possibilities, first I feel fear. I almost get like a panic or a terror. And then it's very hard for me to think, which is kind of weird because now I'm in it and I can't think of the other thing I was going to say. I can feel it right now. It's like, oh my God, like this, I might run out.
Well, maybe it's less of I might run out, and it's more that you get to pick which life trajectory you embark on. And it's important to make decisions that if you have the opportunity to do something like get a mentor, like a one-on-one tutor from someone that is, you guys were just talking about it in the last conversation. You leveled up, surrounded yourself with people that humbled you, right? And then all of a sudden, you've exploded your growth. But that's because you were able to identify that you leveled up, you needed new people, you needed to learn from them, you needed to humble yourself, right? These are all things that you need to do. Each one of those decisions led you to more opportunities, more open doors. And so that's why every single one of these decisions, especially something like identifying this mentor that can then help you with opening doors and understanding yourself better and stuff, is such an important thing in this 3D biologically constrained time world, is that you can potentially make better decisions that will actualize yourself at greater extents.
Yeah, it just hit me again, like the 3D time-bound world. I'm like, I feel this like crazy, alive, like nervous belly. And what it touches me into is this like deep sense of inadequacy. I'm like, oh my God, like damn. 30,000 days or whatever it is. I'm like, there's no way I can actualize or accomplish, or like, even if I feel love, like there's no way I can love to I can't show the amount of love in my heart. And it's like almost to the point of shame how inadequate I feel.
What's it like sharing that now?
I'm tight. My whole body's tight, especially like my hips and. Yeah, it's like I was in it, and so I had to make a point. It's like that kind of energy, like, and now I'm like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, there was a drive to own the inadequacy, or like be honest about the impact. And now something's shifted.
Well, it's like I wanted to like show the impact of that, of like inhabiting that view, and then it just got me. Don't know if that makes sense. What's happening over there?
Yeah, did it resonate, that impact?
Yeah, I feel it a lot too.
I think there's a way I'm like looking to like meet you or feel you, and then I'm like, why am I trying to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot of the feeling of, well, what do I do with this? Where does this go? Where do I direct it to maximize my potential?
Yeah, it seems it comes out like, and you create stuff, and like you want to tell people, like, look what's happening, and you can like support yourself. Look, there are things you can do, and they make a big difference, and that sounds right. And we've definitely been doing that, and I have that drive. I also find I feel relaxed. I don't know.
That's the oneness. That's the unity. That's the chill, which the biological clock is just embedded within that. So it's a state of unity and oneness, and that state that we can always tap into. Yet, embedded within that is this 3D reality of economic, political, and social machinery that we embed ourselves in and need to make decisions in with this biological clock that then impact the way that we live the rest of our lives.
It gives me a bit of a handle on the anger, and I need y'all's help with this. But it's like, I feel a sort of pressure from society or economy or whatever, and it's like I'm not in control of that pressure. And I think the pressure is to like is to somehow forget the oneness. And because I like don't have I'm not quite like right with me or something, I in that I like blame the pressure. I can't even quite get out of the blame as I'm trying to like invite y'all into this experience with me. Is that? Yeah.
I think what's happening in me is like realizing oneness is like not being a simple thing, and I don't even know if I could say I have like realized the depth of what that means.
So likewise. So forever in kindergarten.
Yeah. So there's like one way that, that it doesn't quite make sense, the divide, because
it's like somewhere I have some intuition that I've made a choice to like consent to the world.
Yes.
And then I like forget that I made that choice or can't handle it, and so then I like project it out and then resent the world for like having done it to me.
So there may be a way to put this, that we're born into the 3D reality, and the 3D reality has the social, economic, and political machinery embedded within it. And the only people right now that pretty much are able to not participate out of all 8 billion humans are like the Sentinelese Islanders that have never left their island, and they're never been contacted by the human species. So they're literally, they're out the exit door of the hierarchy and of the social, economic, political machinery. But they're not even quite fully out the exit door, because they still have to deal with like anthropogenic climate change, human-caused climate change. They still have to deal with helicopters and airplanes, and they're like, what is this? What's the, what? So these are the sort of like, how do you get yourself potentially out of, you're birthed into the monopoly board hierarchy where you have to earn, pay as you go, earn, pay as you go, and like, what do you do to be like, no, I don't want to play this game. Where did I sign up for this? Did I sign up for this pre-birth as I came from wherever into this? Did I sign for it?
Something changed in me this time listening to you, like feel my heart more and realize that just previously I was resisting a little bit your like energy but this time I actually heard the care and the concern in it. And like the acknowledgement of like, no, I'm seeing this like huge like organism that is
you
culture.
See the macro.
And just seeing how you're like in the face of like being honest and like real about the challenges we face, being part of this, like please help yourself, and like and I'm here to, that's what I want to serve. I want to serve you navigating that. Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. I want to serve you navigating the complex world and reality that we're all partaking in.
And do you have any resentment?
Do I have resentment? Towards
like,
what? Towards this hierarchy that we're born into?
Yeah.
It's part of this game. It's part of the game that we entered into this round.
And how do you relate to that, being like born into this game?
It's like a challenge that you're born into the game so that you can you when you're born into the game, can you understand the code, the source code of the game? So you learn the source code of the game, then you try and make analogies and metaphors to get other people to understand the source code of the game. Then you help inspire and engage other people and yourself to write new code that obsoletes the old code and makes a new playground that is even better than the old one.
Wow. So when I hear that, it's like, I just want to acknowledge like the passion in that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion.
And then like, I imagine like watching your movie and it's like you've like changed the script of like the Matrix, because you've like, look, I can like decode it. So you've like stopped the bullets, and then you've gone to the architect and you're like, get out of that seat, motherfucker. Me and my crew are coming in to decode it.
That's great. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Okay. Sure, mic's still good. Okay, check 1, 2. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I love you guys too. This has been so fun. I can't believe we started on your crazy story with your mother and we ended on. We're always somehow end on updating the code. Oh, it's like such a frequent thing with me.
Do we have a little longer to?
Yeah, we have time. Yeah.
I just want to share, like, I think my path or my Matrix Trilogy is like a little different. I think the more I've like, especially like working with people and like being with them and just like trying to see each layer as it is the best I can, and failing sometimes and then learning and trying to be with, and just starting to see how like each layer of them actually has like this gift and intelligence, and then I feel love if I like can see that, and they usually feel seen. So there's this process. I actually started to see that transferring like onto the organism of culture and onto like the economic structure, and just started to sense like, wow, there is a lot of pain, and it's hard to be part of this like this life experience, but there's like an inherent intelligence to it all that's mind-blowing. Like the fact that like we were monkeys and like climbing trees and eating stuff if we could, and then this thing happened and we started like becoming self-conscious as far as I can see. And then not short after, here we are in a like metropolis or whatever, connected to the whole world with something in our pocket. It's like crazy innovation.
Yes.
And like the love in that and the intelligence is unbelievable. Like if you just talk to an AI person and like talk about like trying to get like a robot to perceive objects, you're talking about a complexity that's like, you know, only the most brilliant people can like deal with. And like life has solved that in an unbelievable way.
Yeah, but it took billions of years, but yeah.
And then that's the same intelligence that created the economic system.
Yeah.
And that's the same intelligence that's helping us like speak this language that came through a culture that learnt to develop it.
Yeah.
So there's an experience I have, it's like falling in love with the substructure of reality that creates culture and capitalism and all that, but not then to be like, oh great, it's all love.
Interesting. So it's the being in love with this is what we
Eros.
Yeah, Eros.
Love.
Also, can you believe that anything exists?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's falling in love with
that.
But
at the same time though, in the love like that created me and my personality and like what I care about, like in a way I'm like not responsible for that. In the oneness you could say like that's all been created through me, but I still experience it as me, and me cares about the economic system evolving. The me cares about people not being seen and being treated not compassionately, or like in any way I can support like, well, the natural calling for me to create and support the healthy evolution of this organism that's life. That needs to be taken seriously. And I think it's a mistake to be like, oh, we're one and we're like, let's trust everything, it's all evolving, it's all intelligence. And then so I just sit back. Why would you do that?
Totally.
What
you want to
idea
partake in the game as your puzzle piece of updating the code and being the player's role. Yeah.
And life tells us, well, in my experience, life tells us that's right, because when I do that, when I really align to what I care about, I feel like much better. Mm-hmm. So it's like life lets me know that I'm like aligning to something it cares about.
Mm-hmm.
And to circle it all the way back around to the previous conversation, I don't think you actually, like there's, I think I actually agree with what Sean's saying, but I don't think one has to like, you can almost run the experiment to like, let me try out for a year or whatever, like as if life actually is aiming towards some good end. And like once you do that, then something really terrible or difficult happens. And if you're like, well, life is aiming towards something good, then the best way to interpret this adversity is that it's some challenge for me to grow. Mm-hmm. And then when you think of it that way, you actually then grow from it. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in the best sense. And then your life ends up better. So adversity becomes a lesson, and life becomes good because you held it that way. Mm-hmm. And it kind of proves itself to be true in the experience of living a better life.
What's happening right now?
There's a big synthesis happening. It's really nice.
And I can say like at the heart of our work, the thing we kept coming back to was surrender. And often people think like surrender, what the hell? Like that's like putting up a white flag and saying like I submit to a horrible force. So it's like, no, it's not actually what it's really pointing to. It's like the thing I keep discovering is like, if we really look at life and reality and we really feel it, do we trust and align with it? Or do we say, no, it's not right, life's wrong in some way, I need to control it, or be resentful for like what it's given me, and then be in a fight around what's happening? Or like, no, I'm going to deeply align, deepest sense of truth I can, and then act from there, be a vehicle for that essence we discover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's how we're navigating our practice.
And so then to bring that kind of macro view into more micro, into the relationship, and this is straight from our like advanced training. This is top secret just for simulation.
Uh-oh. Shout out, I love it. Let's do it.
It's not that secret, but that sense of like, how do you practice that? What Sean just said, like in a moment in a relationship, and it's to give like in any moment, no matter what's happening, to give a yes to it, and to work with it as a way of like revealing more depth or intimacy. Then that might include my desire to give a no. But so it's like if I'm with you and I'm like, oh, it seems like you're really enjoying this conversation, and then you say like, no, actually I'm hating it. I wish it was somewhere else. One option is I'm like, oh no, I got it wrong, and like now we're disconnected. But another is like, oh, that's cool. Like Alan, like has just updated me and given me like a better sense of where he's at and where we're at.
Yep.
And like there's enough intimacy between us that he can like share something that might put us at odds or in disagreement or tension.
Yep.
And so that's just like those little microcosms of like in any given moment where you notice a kind of resistance to what's happening, and like, yeah, maybe you have to accept that resistance at a kind of meta level, but usually it's like you can just come in and be like, oh, I wonder if I could soften just a little bit to say more of a yes to what's here, even when that's a very difficult, painful thing, like saying yes to like my mom dying, and how hard it is to be with that.
Yeah. These tiniest little changes that we have in these relationships is critical, how we view the situation. And so for me, that situation would be a total learning experience. But we need to practice framing it as a learning experience every time, no matter how the information comes to us, how soft or how harsh or however it comes, to view it as a learning experience.
Yeah, and if you're anything like me, you need quite a few reminders.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of help.
Me too. Yeah. We're like always in kindergarten, always. Yeah.
And that's where we're just we're so good at actually seeing each other, like where we're like not accepting or saying yes or turning away from our best like engagement. And in the past that used to be a problem, because if someone like criticized you, it's like painful and defensive and you've got to like deal with it. But now we can use that skill to actually help us grow, and we're very good at doing that. You only need to go to a basketball game to see like the whole crowd's doing that, like criticizing the best basketball players on the planet that have ever been, and they can see their weaknesses. They actually can. It's amazing. So if we harness everyone's like awareness, if they could actually connect, like you'd only have to go to your family and they'll tell you all the places you need to grow. No problem.
This is a very good point. This is a very good point. At the same time, we can probably agree that there's quite a high amount of noise in the critique that's happening. Meanwhile, there's still signal, and so one's radar for identifying where that signal is and having mentors that help them identify that.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
And one of the trickiest things is to like figure out what actually is the signal, like, because the critique doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It could be that it's right and it's dead on, you have to open to it, or it could be the exact opposite, that like it's calling for you to say, like, to set a stronger boundary or to walk away. It's like it could be calling for completely opposite things, and it's not easy to tell.
You too. Look at these smiles.
Us three.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What else should we talk about? It's crazy that we are here. It's beautiful.
Well, in the spirit of this, if you were going to die tonight, what would you have wanted to say now, or to reveal?
Just me or civilization?
You.
Just me die, civilization lives on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just update the code. Update the code. Maximize prosperity.
Anything to Mum?
I adore you, Mom. Yeah. I got blessed with a good mom. Yeah. What about you guys? If you were to pass tonight, what would be your statement for civilization?
I actually, the first thing that came to me was like, if I knew that, I'm getting straight on the phone to my fiance. Like, I don't know if I can tell the world anything better than that. But I certainly would want to be with her.
I feel first love and then gratitude. Like, yeah, I'm very grateful to experience at all. It's not a given.
Grateful to experience at all, it's not a given. So we would just not have any felt experience. That is what would be happening?
I mean, most of the history of the universe
Had no felt experience.
I don't know. I guess I don't really know, but it seems like most of the universe, even now, like what 99.9 to the a millionth decimal point % of like the actual stuffiness of the universe, as far as we can tell, has no capacity to like know that it's experiencing at all. So like just to have a sense of experiencing it all is like an unbelievable lottery win.
Yeah.
I got that a lot in this process with my mother as well, of just like, if one little thing, tiny thing happened, I wouldn't have been conceived.
Yeah.
Like, what an absolute miracle. And
Miracle.
then looking at my brothers and being like, you know, in any other second, it would have been someone else, or like they would never have been in existence.
Yes.
It's like, oh, what a thing to be here with you and Jordan and these listeners. And
Damn. What a privileged thing it is to even experience life.
Yeah, that's it. It's like existence privilege or experience privilege.
Experience privilege.
I felt felt something really nice when you said that.
Yeah, me too.
And then on top of that, like to be in this day and age,
Yeah.
like where we can talk about it, where we can, to know that it's crazy, like the amount of safety and care and love I feel like when encountering like people from different like in not too long ago, it'd be like, oh, like that person's probably going to kill me or my like family, so I ought to kill them first. And
and not too long ago on the scale of the cosmic perspective, for sure. And yeah, now we're having a live stream conversation with electricity, running water, ubiquity in food.
It's unbelievable.
But billions of people don't have that, so still got work to do.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
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 Although, yeah,
That's
and we're doing
point.
well, it seems.
Yeah. The code is good.
There's a phrase that you were talking about, like throwing out the obsolete code,
Just obsoleting it.
but
with
or
new
obsoleting
code.
it.
Yeah.
We have a phrase in like the integral theory community.
Yes.
It's called like transcend and include.
Yeah, of course.
And it comes from like, you know, the way that whatever, like molecules transcend atoms but include them, and like our brains transcend the reptilian brainstem but includes it, and so on. And like we like to joke in like the circling Europe world that like we do transcend and enhance.
Transcend and enhance. Yeah. That's good. I like that.
So that's my offering to
Yeah, transcend
and enhance the code.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. This is crazy, interesting conversation. I'm glad we did the deeper cut because we really got into some very, very pressing and beautiful conversation. Yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful.
Me too.
Yeah. However, it ended up being that we were all able to experience this life and this conversation together with people that are able to tune in and watch, share. I feel like we should do a PG version of the freestyle.
Oh, jeez.
Can you do PG?
Not very well.
Not very
I
well.
can try.
Is that what parental guidance?
Something like that.
Yeah. It's the movie rating
It's
system.
the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
rating system, but yeah, basically, yeah.
What, like a summary? Or like...
Oh, like a... Yeah, sure. I mean, if you give me a beat, I can try and summarize our conversation over some flow.
What kind of beat?
Just slow. Slow beats are good.
Like, wait.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, slow like that. We started off talking about Sean's mom. Ventured into time, we figured out how slow it can go if you flow, if you let yourself go. But then the clock is ticking, yo, so collapse the barrier that you want to go. Build the future, update the code. Then we ventured into more kind thoughts. We ended up with a beatbox sot. All right, I'll pass it to you now. That was good. All right. What do you want? Slow, medium, fast?
It's got to be slow. Oh,
Slow?
God.
Okay. Keep it.
I'm just going to like hang out as the awkward English guy, so just keep going, guys.
I feel the shame in my belly because I don't know what's coming and I'll probably screw it up. Yeah, I want to go run out the door. Don't look at me anymore. I'm trying to avoid saying certain words like whore because this is PG. I guess that's what we see. And don't look at me, look at someone else. Although I love your attention because I'm a big self with the big capital S. And that's the best, better than this little thing that's like really fucking messed up.
It's so good to be put on the spot and like have to, flow. It's so important to freestyle and it is. It's so important. It's so important. Like we could. Yeah, just pick something. Ow! Ow! Ow!
Oh yeah.
Wow, 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 wow,
Mr.
wow,
Sean,
wow,
won't you
wow,
give us
wow,
a
wow,
song?
wow, wow, wow,
Mr.
wow,
Sean, here we are waiting for you all along.
What do you want me to sing?
About your interior as
Ooh.
arrows.
May we get some singing?
Just a little embarrassed now. I probably will regret this for a long, long time. A chance to feel my interior pain. I did want to give a little caveat to what we were saying. We talked about being with everything as it is, and we didn't mention that that will probably be a lot of pain and difficult complexity that will be definitely overwhelming quite often. So good luck with that, and I hope you get the right kind of support.
The truth will set you free, but there's no guarantee that it will feel good as it happens.
That's a good one. And this is another important way to just do freestyle, is that you can do a slow singing.
This is how we have our difficult meetings in the company.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's an interesting strategy.
I do it with my girlfriend all the time. It's amazing.
The hard conversations, you sing through them?
Or it not just in hard conversations, but we like sing to each other on our like phone, like when I'm away, and like just it sometimes
That's
comes
good
up. So we freestyle, and we were both like people who were scared of like singing. Like people must have seen me like squirming now, because like when I grew up, I was like afraid and felt like I wasn't okay to, you know, express myself. And she was somewhat similar, but because we've been singing together, we just get way more creative, and we connect a lot through that. It's so wonderful.
And you guys do this at the company too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is excellent.
It's really great if there's like, yeah, we actually should probably do it more, like if it gets really tough to like bring it in, but it's more like it happens spontaneously, and it's like, I don't know why the hell you did that. It didn't make any sense to me. Could you explain?
It's quite cool though.
That's interesting. I like that.
Because John was a musician, but we played with it before, but when he came in, he's like, when he circles you, he's usually like really kind and quite gentle often, but when he's like singing, his dark side comes out.
The truth will set you free.
Yeah, so
but it wonon't be easy.
when he starts singing about you, you get a little bit of a like,
funny.
oh.
That's funny. Yeah, I like that. I love the slow sing. That's been another one of the great freestyles. Yeah, I like the application of it to relationships, workplaces. That's really interesting. We should do some more of that.
If you're gonna try it, like in the work, whoever, I don't even know where I'm supposed to look at a camera.
Oh yeah, come to this. Come to that one. Yeah.
It's good to let go of any sense of like needing to make a good melody, and like we'll often sing the same damn melody for like 30 minutes, and it maybe will even be like, sometimes we were hanging out with our friend who's Jewish in New York, so we had this like Jewish melody, and it was like it was like the same note, and then it would just go like one lower, and it was just the whole time like whatever, like this is going to be example, okay, this is a really bad example, and people would walk around with us and be like, why do you keep doing this very same song the whole time? It was like,
yeah, this is very good. This is very good information. So We can follow whatever we choose. We can move it around quicker if we want. We can slow it down as well. We can do some ups. We can do some downs. So I love that. I think that's very good. Let's try and do another one, another round. Let's do another round.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Who wants to start us off?
Do some of your dark circling of Alan.
I want to do light, but you can do dark if you want. I want to do PG though.
Just
PG
flow.
though.
But sing about Alan, that would be fun.
This has been such a beautiful time together. I love you both very much. And if we can inspire and engage others, maybe they will get a hunch, and maybe they can pursue something that spiritually actualizes them to the unity consciousness we can all build together. And I can pass it off right now, but I also really want to keep it because it's such a fun thing to do, to sing it. So I'll pass it off to Jordan now, and then he'll pass it off to Sean. But no, I am not mowing your lawn. Let's go.
What?
Oh, Mr. Allen, I feel so close to you quite easily. But at the same time, I wonder if I can show you all the dark places in me. Because I'm afraid that even though you've got the biggest enthusiasm in the world, that sometimes when you don't even know it, you flinch and you gently turn away.
Damn, let's unpack this. When do I do that shit? You can't just drop that. Oh, I just sing the song.
Well,
and,
Sean will unpack it for
Before
you.
you, okay, in the
told
song.
you.
All right. You guys both notice it? All right, great. I wonder how much you are on the same wavelength about what you just sang.
Maybe we have a different door.
All right. So, do you sing first, or do we unpack that first? Or do you unpack it in song?
Mr. Allen's getting curious now. It doesn't seem like that curiosity, which is just like, wow, what is it? Seems a little bit more driven. What is it?
What?
Have you both noticed? Mr. Allen wants to know what's inside of him. He wants to stay present, so he tries pretty hard. And maybe part of him doesn't want to try so hard, so moves away to give him some space for a deeper layer of him that he hasn't felt just quite yet. Okay. So that little look away, rather than being a problem, might be an opportunity to listen to a deeper intelligence that's telling him to rest a little more. But not to shame his drive, which is a beautiful expression of his masculine power and heart, sense, feminine love for everything. But maybe he would love to deeply rest at the same time and be an effortless expression of all that is. Even though he already is that anyway.
Okay, what was just said?
It was just the universe speaking to you as Sean.
I hope no one's watching now.
The nerve endings of God are you guys, and you're communicating to me through this
And why
transmission.
did you just forget to include yourself?
I'm in that too. It's just that you're communicating from a couple nerve endings to me. What is this? What are we talking about? What is happening? What am I doing that I could update that to become better, please?
It's so
out of song.
It's so
out of song.
beautiful to watch the drive in you.
Crystal
It
song.
seems like part of it just really wants to know
I try and
yourself.
stop him sometimes. It's really hard.
It's really hard. Well, okay.
But the other part is
You just keep going. He'll stop.
deeply afraid of
You can tell me
what will happen
I will
if
be
you
receptive.
don't update. Can you feel the part of you that's afraid if you won't update, something bad might occur? If you feel that part of you right now, it might feel like shame. And if you notice yourself turning away, don't automatically turn back yet.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? I want to unpack this because this is let's talk about it, right? Let's make it a little bit more
Okay.
like clear, okay? So what are we saying here that me wanting to do things and build is
What? It's like
inhibiting some other sort of development that is important as well?
well, it seems like we've like said something that's like caught your attention, like and now you seem like eager like to learn and like see what might be happening.
Yeah, I'm always eager to learn.
And then this drive to know what we're saying. Is there like something like at stake if you don't?
Well, I don't want to not hear what someone's perspective is on what their thoughts are on how I engage with reality, because I think it's a very interesting feedback loop. People engage with you, they tell you what their perspective is on how, this is that whole mentor thing, that whole like tutor thing, the whole Bloom 2 Sigma thing. You want to have the one-on-ones with people that say like, hey, consider some of this stuff, maybe it'll help. Yeah, please tell me what you think that is. And so your counter to that is, why do you even worry so much about what that is?
No, not at all.
Okay,
not at all.
Okay, what's the point?
So you're like, please tell me. That's the foreground.
Okay,
There's a background that you're not saying. It's implicit in it.
okay.
And that's like, that's what we're looking at. My guess is it's something like, I'm afraid I'm missing something, and they're like, I'm not, and that's going to be, I don't know, painful or harmful or embarrassing or.
I just want to level up.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I want to level up. That's foreground, and then behind that or background is like, there's often a feeling of like, I'm not, like this level isn't good enough.
What happens?
I don't know
now?
if it's this level isn't good enough, but that's an interesting analysis. I don't know if it's actually that.
Yeah.
I think it's just more that I want to level up. Yeah.
And what happens as we sort of question now and inquire? Does it feel easy, or is something?
No, I mean, I had those experiences with mentors where I was like fucking bawling because I was like looking at myself in the mirror and being like, holy fuck. Like I'm ego-driven, greed-driven, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, fuck, like I have to really look at myself in the mirror and grow and be more selfless and more less ego-driven and more loving and caring and respectful, less greedy, blah, 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 blah. And so like, anyway, this is, so far, this is like not as hard compared to that, but can we just, like, why, like, can you, like, it just feels like I'm being teased. Can you just tell me what the point is, like, that I can do, like, what is the thing you're saying?
I think I am.
What is it?
That the thing in you that wants to know the point is very likely being driven by a sense of inadequacy or something else that I don't think you're conscious of.
Why does it have to be an inadequacy?
It doesn't have to be. It's
Why-
a question for you.
Why can't it just be a desire to level up?
It could be.
Okay, so then
I doubt it is though.
why?
Just from my experience of like being in this inquiry with a shitload of people over the past like 10 years
Okay.
and my own experience.
Okay, so, but why does it have to, why has it been having to come from people from a place of inadequacy? Like, I view this as a game. I view this as leveling up. I view this as gaining experience points, right? And if I've really been pushing myself in that paradigm for a while, it does kind of make sense that it's just like I hope that you share this wisdom with me so that I can level up, not that I'm inadequate.
Well, what would be bad about that? Like, why would that be a bad thing to have that be the drive?
Well, I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing for that to be the drive. It's just more.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's just more so that, I mean, I would need to like continue analyzing myself and seeing like how this comes up and whatnot, but it definitely to me does not seem like that, at least not right now. And like basically if I'm not, if I engage with people and they're not willing to like help me level up, like I'm not going to engage with them. Like that's just how I have figured out how to flow, because like this conversation is so much leveling up and like it feels amazing. But at the same time, like I know that like if I'm having a conversation with people here and it's just like, you know, first of all, it wouldn't happen, like they wouldn't come onto the show, but that if it's like out on the street or whatever and it's like there's just nothing is coming up at that time, I'm like, I can't contribute anymore, I gotta go. And like, that's it. And like, I can find this potentially from other places, but I'm not like, maybe it has been inadequacy for people that you've chatted with, but there's like a myriad, a plethora of different options of what this could potentially be.
So I think I'm with you. I don't know, like, I don't know if there's more to this, or like the only thing I'm sensing is like, as we've gone into this inquiry about like something we're potentially seeing, I actually feel like maybe for the first time, like we're not in a shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, agreed.
But
It's interesting.
I think there's like, I feel very careful being on camera as well. Like,
Why? For your sake or my sake?
for me,
Oh,
yeah.
for your sake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like it. Like some ways, I'm like struggling to know how to connect with you here.
Well, I'm still curious what the piece of advice is. Like, it's been 5 minutes since we started talking about this piece of advice that you were singing, and I didn't understand it.
It wasn't intended to be advice.
Or whatever it was intended to be. Like, I'm interested to know what it was, this thing that you were singing, and how does it potentially apply to my life? And like, I still haven't heard it, and we've spent the whole time talking about, well, what is it that you're like seeking this information for? And I'm like, I want to level up. Like, is this worth my time? Like, will you tell me what this is?
So you're like working out if you can trust, like, that we have something, whether we're just playing.
No, I just want to know what it is. That's
I can try.
Okay.
Well, I suppose like one thing is like, I'm not sure like the way like you're asking for the advice is like coming from like a place where you can listen.
This is the advice.
So this is the advice.
This is the advice?
It has been the whole time.
Okay.
That's the first bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I'm positioning myself in a way that is less receptive to the advice?
I don't think you're.
Not intentionally.
My sense is you deeply care about this. There's something that really matters to you about leveling up.
Okay.
And I don't in any way want to shame that, because I like it, or I trust
Yes.
it.
Okay.
And there's something that just has me a little uneasy in it. Like, I notice that
Okay.
sometimes when you're expressing it, I actually feel like a little empty, or I find myself waiting for the end of the sentence, because and I don't know why that is. Like, it might not be because you're doing anything, but I certainly notice, I don't know what happens in me, I just start to wait, so I don't feel on the train with you sometimes in that drive. So that does give me a hypothesis that maybe there's more to be expressed in that drive than you.
Okay, fine. Let's put it this way. I barely know myself. Okay? I barely know myself. I barely know how I interplay with this world, right? I barely know these things. If I quote this forever kindergarten thing and then I'm like, I have it all figured out, then that's like two completely different perspectives. So I'm in perpetual kindergarten. I don't know myself or my subconscious or my unconscious that well. I barely know my conscious that well and the way I interact with reality. So if you're to hypothesize that this is coming potentially from a place of inadequacy or whatever other millions of adjectives could potentially exist in that scenario, sure, I'm open to it.
So yeah, here's another way to say it then. So you know how I think you'll and your viewers will get this. People are they're driving to get a achievement or build the hierarchy or whatever.
Sure.
Earn a ton of money, and then one day they're like, wait, what is this for? This is for happiness or well-being or health or something, and they they're like, wow, this whole thing was for some other thing that's more important, and they set aside. They're like, I don't need to do money, and I just want to be well and be okay. You could watch Jim Carrey went through this transformation.
Sure, yeah.
And then you go through that for a while, and you're like, man, happiness and health and well-being, this is all super important. You're driving for that, and then suddenly you're like, hold on, what's the point of that? Who cares if I'm happy if I'm not doing something meaningful for the world?
Yeah.
Update the code or
Yeah.
make an impact or
Yeah.
help people. And so then you realize all of that was to try to get you to a place where you could do this.
Yes.
This layer, I think that developmental sequence keeps going.
Yes.
And it's very hard to see the thing. And I think what we're pointing to is that this layer itself, I think, is what you're operating from a lot of
Yes.
the time.
As often as possible. Yeah.
And so this, I think underneath, the same way that underneath this achievement, there's some often something else driving it, or underneath this need for happiness or health or well-being is an unhappiness or an unhealth or an unwellness that often comes from the previous stage. There's under this drive for growing or leveling up, there's often a kind of pain, an existential pain, almost does my life have meaning and purpose? And I'm not sure, because I'm actually pretty fucking small in the grand scheme of the cosmos, and I don't know, even if I improved humanity in a massive way for the next 10,000 years, I don't know that my life actually has that much meaning. And that's a really scary thing to look at when you're a self-identity. And the advice that I haven't given yet, that now I'm going to give, is that that's worth turning to look at. It's hard to do, but it's and ironically, that's the thing that I think will level you up the most. It's to keep facing the sense of the limitation of my small self or my ego or my drive for permanence. We started this whole thing with impermanence. That, the irony is that when I'm willing to continuously face that and the pain of that and the inadequacy of that and the not enoughness of that, what it does is eventually I become identified with something that's so much bigger than this small self. So it almost pops me out into something vast and permanent, but not in a sense of my Jordan self, but in the sense of the universe itself being permanent, even though it's in constant change and constant expansion. And like, if I could bring, like, that's the biggest joy for me to like, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna suck. The development or the truth doesn't always feel good, but like, if I could open that to you, or even like plant a seed, which I hope we've done tonight, that's like the best thing I could possibly give you in my whole life.
Yeah, I think I'm following the reflection, so that this pursuit of wanting to update code is in itself you get to pick which one, ego or transcendent experience. And the more that I gravitate towards transcendent experience of this is coming through me into civilization, don't put my name on shit, just fucking build it, go, unity, we're good to go. Just like,
I just like
it doesn't need to be that these analogies and metaphors and synthesis of all that's happening gets stamped with my fucking impermanent ass name on shit. More so, why doesn't the beauty of the analogy, metaphor, synthesis of all that is actually act as a seed in itself, and letting thousands of other people go and build on top of it that makes it so much better? And then I'm just like, I'm gone. So that's the point. And it's good to hear this from you, because it helps me continuously go, double check. Yeah, okay. Double check. Okay. Keep triple, quadruple, quintuple, keep going. Keep checking. Check through your whole life. Ego or transcendence, or like however, we want to phrase that. But
I'm still a little in the energy, which felt very good. I hope it felt good to receive. But like, there's still a challenge. Like when you say that, I'm like,
yeah.
The pointer to the other thing is like, building isn't always the thing.
Well, it depends on how much you want to build. This is the thing.
And I'm saying I don't want it to depend on how much you want to build. I want it to depend on like what God wants Alan to be like doing in the world, which may be not building but tearing down, which may be neither, but like being an amazing interviewer. It may be some other thing. It may be that you actually find yourself like the biggest gift you could give the world in a kind of like sensitive dependence, chaos theory, butterfly wing thing is like to go like, or even like the kind of Lao Tzu, like he was, the legend is that he's like walking out of China or wherever it was. I'm sorry to everyone whose culture I'm butchering right now, but he's like walking out of the country, and the guard's like, you're so wise, like you need to like at least leave us with a piece of writing. And he's like, fine. He like goes back and like writes for 3 days and hands him the thing, and he's out. And he's like, he has no idea. He's not trying to change the world. He's not trying to build. In fact, he's like, I guess I should write some stuff. And then it's like one of the deepest books of wisdom that the human species has.
Okay.
And you can't know that, and you can't predict that, and you can't want that.
How are we doing?
Yeah, this is fantastic. I'm having a great time learning about this from you guys. I'm having a great time. I think patience has helped a lot for me. That's helped a lot. It used to be like even like a year and a little more ago, it used to be like, how can I get this done as soon as possible? And then it was like, just be patient. And now it's been like, I love being patient, because the synthesis just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And of course, I would prefer to not just walk with the synthesis out and be done. Like, I would much rather figure out ways to disseminate the synthesis, to inspire and engage people to realize that, holy fuck, there's a big, massive potential of code updates that we can do. And so, like, what do you want? Do you want to start Do you want to start an organization that impacts 1 person, 10 people, 100 people, 1 million people, 10 million people? How many people do you want to impact the organization? If you don't author yourself some sort of a future that you want, you'll just be kind of like, and I have a, conscientiousness is the second measure of intelligence, most robust measure after IQ. And for that exact reason, that the most conscientious people are the ones that are able to say, that's my goal, that's where I find meaning in life, I'm going to take steps, in a month I'm going to be here, in 10 I'm going to be there, in 3 years I'm going to be there. And that if it doesn't, this is the thing, there's flexibilidad, tranquillo, calm and flexibility along this whole path. So it's not saying I'm forcing it. It's saying that I'm totally flexible and calm along the journey, but I have goals. And it's not about this leaving something that updates the code of civilization forever and I get to be a sage on a stage. It's way more about, can this pass the Lindy effect? Can you create something as profound as the wheel or as profound as language? Can you do that? Because if you do, you will make such great updates to the way that people live in this 3D world. It will maximize flourishing faster. And that's a goal that I have. And flexibilidad y tranquillo. Get there, great. Don't, no worries. Get to 5 people, great. Get to 5 million people, awesome. That's how I feel about it. Does that help?
Well, it seems clear. It seems like we're almost like, it's almost the same mission, or I suppose we're like turning towards like what has us want to grow and build, like, which we have very strong, and like trying to get more information from that place in us. And then I don't know where that's going to lead us, like whether we should be like, how big we should be or whatever. Like, I'll do my best to like show up and be truthful. But maybe our wheel is this process of turning towards and being in connection around it and transforming relationships through this like deep grappling with our actualization, but also our existential or spiritual pain or fears, like including that range in connection. So I think there's like similar but just slight difference. It's going to be exciting to see how that plays out. Does that resonate?
I'm trying to understand that. So it seems like we're coming from potentially a very similar first principle, but then there's some sort of a difference between.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but the sense of like when you say about like creating the wheel, like, or creating an innovation that makes a difference, I certainly feel that with circling and surrendered leadership. I feel alive and a proudness that this like method came through us, like sincerely practicing, but also like working very hard, and so there's a proudness about that. But then I think it's just quite scary to know like really what it's all for, and if I'm really aligned, and if I really can make a difference. And those, I think, I just find that a rich place to explore as well.
Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like?
It's a good question.
Because I think maybe it might be that the level of comfortability you have with how much time you're putting on building something that you find to be meaningful and important and inspirational for other people, that maybe there is some sort of a it's got to be cool if it just hits 5 people,
I think if I'm really honest, I think I would have to meet a lot of pain if it works out that we shrink to that size. But if life is, if that's the lesson I need to learn, because I'm certainly like got this like ambition that comes through me.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like it's going that way anyway. But yeah.
But if somehow we like fall down, I imagine that's going to be a very hard process. But then I feel willing, as the best I can, to, if that's what's meant to be.
This is an interesting end to the conversation. I didn't think we were going to get here after freestyling. It's very funny.
Seems we touched something important. I don't think I've been able to put my finger quite on it yet. But
no, me too. I'm forever in kindergarten, but I think we started somehow getting to it. Maybe it does seem like it has to do with whatever your ultimate calling is, to build that with full intention to bring it at whatever scale it ends up coming, and having that be a transcendent experience rather than an ego-driven one.
I think I'm going to make an even stronger claim.
Okay.
And before I do a theoretical claim, I just want to like acknowledge or honor that like the drive to like impact a lot of people is very strong in me for sure, and in us. And like we just opened this circling studio in Austin. There's circling every day, and the tagline is like a gym for emotional health.
It's great.
So
it's a good one.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea is to bring in more like it's more mainstream, so people can come do a workout and then they go off and do the rest of their day. They don't have to be into like transformational communication or meditation or anything like that. They're just like, oh yeah, that seems good. I need to get a little bit more of that, like a tune-up, or go every week. And
that's great.
So like I'm inspired by the potential of like this could actually be very helpful for a lot of people on a wide scale. And I'm going to keep acting in those directions. That said, there's something that I think if we get too attached to like our sense of what our actions are, I get this a lot when I come to San Francisco and Silicon Valley. People are like, yeah, I'm going to change the world or make a big difference, even if it's not about me. And I'm like, I'm not going to have my name on it. There's something about like, you know, my actions or my life is yoked to like making a huge difference.
Sure.
I think often that actually keeps one from making the difference that they could make, because they're driven towards a particular agenda. They're actually not very good at listening to other data that comes from other streams that might direct them in another way.
Okay, fair enough. But what about manifesting the future that you want through thought?
So, we can go into that. It's a different topic, but
I think it's the same topic. It's the same topic.
I think
you're right about these edge cases. If you're so obsessed with this path and you're hearing data from over here and you're not listening, and that could actually help you, you're missing stuff.
I don't think they're edge cases. I think if you look at like, you know, Steve Jobs getting kicked out of Apple, like, and having to go off and do all this other stuff. I think if you look at like Richard Feynman won the Nobel Prize because he like got excited about like spinning plates of a waiter, not because he was like trying to create Nobel Prize winning physics. I think we could, almost any famous person that changed the course of history, if we looked back at like, I mean, there's going to be a few exceptions, but like most of them was like an accident that made sense when you look back at it, not because they like thought of what they wanted to do and backchained it.
I don't know if you'd say could use the word most in that scenario, but
you're probably right.
Yeah.
But
this is an interesting point. There are likely some people that saw something that said, see a bird, make a plane. And that could have been their inspiration. It maybe didn't start just as make a plane. Okay, yeah. Could have been something else, whatever it was that created the stimuli for them to change the world. Sure. Does conscientiousness and goal setting have something to do with it? Yes. Does manifesting the reality with thought being creation, does that have something to do with it? Probably yes. Does being so driven towards this one path to get there that you don't actually hear or see or listen to nature or hear meditation or mindfulness, spirituality, anything else, friends, family, nature along the way? Yes. These things all compound together to this story, and one has to just, feel out what that is. And I'm extremely open-minded, and I'm already learning a lot from the way that you guys are teaching me about this, specifics on your views and perspectives on this. It's just interesting to me that you may feel that I am like going in some direction that you guys are like, yo, are you like, I don't know, what are the, yeah.
Well, I've felt like we're in a totally different part of the conversation. Doesn't feel directed at you anymore.
Agreed. But then it only came up because
Sure.
It came up in the song, and I don't even know how it came up in the song.
What's the recording?
But no, I mean, how did it come up? How did you guys go together?
I think
we're just like, oh, Alan, we have something to
Jordan
say.
said he saw you. When I shared something emotional right in the first call we had, first video, you went like that and then gave a third person perspective, and then he was like, oh, but what did it feel like when I said I felt warm? So in that movement, it was like, oh yeah, maybe something happened there that's kind of cool, like a micro message. So then in the song, we're just saying oh, maybe...
Based on that?
Maybe that move, yeah, it's that subtle. And we don't know, but I wasn't, so I said that when you did that, maybe the part of you that wants to relax expresses itself in ways you don't know yet. Sometimes.
Yeah, I know nothing.
And I was just throwing that out playfully, and obviously I was a little bit hypothesizing a little, but not that seriously. But it's obviously caught some fire. So then we've been in since.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my sense of where we got was imagine on your side, it's look, I really want to make a difference. I know what happens if you fall asleep at the wheel. There are things that make a difference. I've seen it, I've experienced it. It makes a real difference.
Okay.
And then the thing that I was trying not to do, that's why it was hard, was to say no to that, because I actually agree with it. But what I was just saying, in my experience, in my growth, what's actually been really compelling is actually while actually continuing to try to grow the best I can, getting curious about in more subtle layers, oh yeah, what is it that drives me actually? And it's not ego in the small egocentric sense, but it's just oh yeah, what is creating the self in me that drives to grow?
Okay.
And my hypothesis, we could explore that, and there would be fruitful findings.
I agree.
Of course, if we did it with all of us, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
And in that, I don't think it would tell you. I'm imagining it wouldn't tell you to stop creating the stuff you're doing.
Right.
I imagine it would show you a map of a more complex way to do it that would also be more life force.
Excellent.
So I thought we were together. There was just this little twist, and this is where we're working. We're working with that kind of subtlety.
You guys have after your whatever tens of thousands of circles, and it's just crazy that you can identify something as minuscule as that as that response. I have to go and look back and find it because I don't even remember. And sometimes maybe these readings are like something about them that they did that maybe didn't actually have to do with that subconscious thought process. But
for sure.
But that's also very interesting to even unpack in the first place of why? Go deeper and deeper into why, and then maybe you'll find something that lives there. And,
I want to make two. I think I spoke falsely, and I want to update.
Okay.
That. First of all, I have no idea what actually. Probably we can't get in the way of whatever what I said, like God's plan for us is. Like whether we want to or not, we probably can't. And like the example I think of is like the bacteria that like lived and died, and then their like 200 million years of like billions of bacteria living and dying created the ozone layer, which created the like structure for all of life on Earth to emerge. Like it didn't matter whether they tried to create the ozone layer or not, like they were gonna do it. So that at that scale, it's really like whether we try or not, like we're gonna do the thing that we're meant to do. So I think I was wrong 10 minutes ago, like whenever I made some claims that maybe I just wasn't that. I could be a lot more accurate or more precise, and I'm just sorry about that.
I welcome your new update to your point. I'm sure that I have plenty of those as well. If you're looking back like to the first episodes of the show, there's so many times I'm like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
what an idiot. That's so funny. Yeah.
I'm trying to practice like really when I notice one of those things, really coming forward and being like, yeah, I was totally mistaken. And like really making an effort to like show that and face the kind of, because I can notice my internal like flinching away from not wanting to be seen and just immediately saying like, oh yeah, now I've got the new one, it's cool.
Well, let's talk about this. I think it's very funny because people will. There's two funny things here. One funny thing is that we don't go why down to like the depths of the cores of people in the first place that often. But then two is, if you've already done this practice with mentors and friends, which I have in this case, and likely you guys and lots of other people at Circle have a lot, gotten down to the whys, the deepest whys, the things that come up are usually things about selfishness. Things about money, power, fame, clout, influence, genetic fitness to get a better mate, just all of those things, some of those things in some percentages, whatever. And then there's people that have spent so much time analyzing those and digging into themselves to try and figure out what is it? Is it any of those? Can I look at myself in the mirror? Is it that? Okay, well, I did get called out. Okay, I got called out. I need to work on my, okay, cool, I'm worked on it. Now that's less coming up. Awesome. So then what? You've worked on this. These things aren't as existent as maybe they once were. And then you're prioritizing thought is creation. You're prioritizing, this is about world peace. This is about transcending my own ego. This is about leaving behind a better civilization for 5, 10, a million people, whatever it is. You start embodying these things. You start practicing it so that every single time that you are at the end of the month have just a couple extra $100 in your account, that you immediately give that money to the people that have helped support you to get to the point that you're at, and you're back at zero. And then you like do it again. It's just like you start doing processes that just completely change. You don't buy materialistic shit. You behave like so. Is this making sense? That there's this why. Okay, I've identified them. I'm working on some of them, but
So-
mostly it's these.
So it seems like you got a concern that if there is this like looking at the subtleties and then diving deeper, that like you could do that process to such an extent that actually you wouldn't be creating all the things that are actually making a difference. Is that the concern?
I would say it's more about how it's like these types of conversations happen now more often, which is excellent that they even happen more often. But then you get to this point where it's like the simulation has to get to the point where you're experiencing it so that you can actually make the decision about if it's ego or transcendence. And then so like, how do you level yourself up to get to that point? And then you're faced with the example, and then you collapse into the direction that you've built yourself up to. And so it's just like, I've worked on this. I'm gonna keep working on it. And like, I'm just gonna have to get to those moments, these bifurcations of, is it about ego or is it about transcendence? You get the opportunity to write your fucking name on something. Are you gonna choose to write your name on it? Or are you going to choose to say, this isn't about me? And furthermore, is there an argument that can be made for the last names on the hospitals and the schools and all the blah blahs of the world? Is there an argument to be made? Could it be that if you have made that much money, maybe it's actually about showing other people that people that make that much money should give back to hospitals and schools? Because there's nuance, and the branding of a name on something isn't necessarily 100% binary about ego. So there's tons of nuance.
Totally.
So if someone chooses to write a book and they choose to anonymize it so that their name isn't on it, like blockchain Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Excellent. But if someone chooses to make a profound innovation and then chooses to say, yeah, that was me, I made it, and like I'm happy to tour schools and talk about it and stuff, is that, so there's all this nuance here. And so I'm not necessarily, this is interesting that we got to this point. It's cool. I'm not necessarily, I just like build up the skills, work with the people, like what is happening right now, and get to the point where these decisions have to be made between ego or transcendence, or however you want to view it, and see how you behave and keep working on yourself.
I think to wrap up for me, like I feel with you on this sense of like, I've definitely historically and maybe still am like a deep diver. Like I've been about like, I want to know my relationship to existence. I want to discover the deeper states and the deeper feelings I have about the world, about myself. I've always been that way, even though I've also been pretty action orientated as well. But recently there's been a shift that's happening in me. It's like something like it's not about deeper, or that there's nothing to find other than what's already presenting itself. And so a circle for me now like is no longer about like, will I find the state or the pain or the whatever, the belief system that I can deconstruct to then get to the like promise, so then I can be in the world. It's more like a discovery. Like I don't know what's going to present itself, and it could just be a mental, like a thought that inspires me, or like someone seeing me that touches me and gives me confidence to do the thing that I haven't done yet. Or so it seems again where we're like playing in a similar field. navigating the same problems. And hopefully supporting each other if we can.
And I feel that, yeah, with you. And I have to go to sleep.
I can't even start trying to synthesize and make a knowledge graph of this whole conversation. There's so much stuff.
It was a bit of a beast.
It was a beast. It was a beast. This would be a fun one to try and make a knowledge graph of. We're excited to get to that point with the series where we can make knowledge graphs of the conversation, transcripts, parse for key points, all this cool stuff that we're working on.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting starting with your mother and then leading us into time and then getting us somehow to where we started talking about what lies at these deepest whys. It was just really good stuff.
Via beatboxing and singing.
Oh, there was a beatbox in the middle.
There was a whole like
what?
interim
The singing,
time.
it opened Pandora's box.
We did, yeah. And then Jordan wouldn't stop singing. That was funny.
Yeah.
You guys, you guys are awesome. I do love you both a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Love you a lot, too.
We must continue, a little tradition of having the recording studio be open for this when you guys are around. So let's make it happen.
Man.
We'll make it happen. We'll keep it going.
Thank you. Thanks for having us and thanks for being the unique person that you are that's driven to level up and help level others up and create this in a way that is having impacts on people in really positive ways.
Thank you. Yeah, you too with circling.
Really?
Wow.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we have so much to still co-create. Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe you guys didn't notice some micro expression that triggered all of that other stuff. Like, I'm like, what? Like, how do I get, anyway. Yeah. I'm sure you guys, after practicing so many of those micro expressions, you can get to,
I think we've done our 10,000 hours.
You have, for mastery, for sure. That's where, we're going with being an interlocutor and hosting a show as well. One thing I do know is that I am pursuing code updates, a synthesis of all that is into analogies and metaphors that are extremely relatable, that obsolete the old code. What did you say? Transcend and enhance. Transcend and enhance civilization. So hopefully more people can figure out what that divine calling is and pursue it conscientiously, being flexible along the way. All right, let's call it. So, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Wait, you just had a little love sign from everyone. Love sign. Thank you. Huge thank you for sticking with us through what has been a very interesting and so many epic point episode. Do check out, obviously this has been the deeper cut, so do check out the previous episode with Jordan and Sean on transformational communication. That was the previous episode. Check that out. And check out the links below to their project circlingeurope.com, as well as their online everyday circling, circleanywhere.com, and surrenderedleadership.com. So check those out, everyone. And support simulation, support the artists, the entrepreneurs, the organizations around the world that you believe in, support simulation so we can continue growing and scaling and everything. Our links are below. And build the future. Manifest your dreams into the world. We love you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and share more awesome content and aspects of the conversation like we had today with more people around the world. And we'll see you soon, everyone. Peace. Beep, 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 beep.